General Hospital spoilers tease that one of the latest shocks rocking Port Charles is Carly's bold move to seek custody of Wiley and Amelia. She made her intentions known during a tense family meeting at the Quartermain mansion, sending ripples through the entire family. This wasn't just an impulsive reaction to Willow's behavior, it was the result of a long period in which Carly quietly gathered evidence about the unstable environment Drew and Willow have created. She documented their arguments, instances where the children were left in the care of the housekeeper while Drew and Willow pursued their own agendas. And even signs that Drew might be involving Willow in questionable business ventures that could endanger the family. Carly even obtained audio recordings of private conversations between Drew and Willow, where Drew persuaded Willow that distancing themselves from Michael and the Corinthos family was essential for their future. In one particularly shocking clip, Drew even suggested they consider relocating to another city with the kids, away from the toxic influence of the Corinthos family. The determined look in Carly's eyes as she laid out her plan made it clear. This is not a battle she's willing to back down from, especially when it involves the safety and happiness of the grandchildren she loves unconditionally. A major new development is that Carly and Diane have begun to receive unexpected support from several key players. Monica Quartermain, despite her historically tense relationship with Carly, is now in her corner. Even Alexis Davis, once Carly's legal adversary and occasional enemy, has voiced her support, believing the children need protection from Willow's increasingly reckless decisions. Olivia Quartermain, typically a close ally of Willow, has also started to harbor doubts. After witnessing some troubling interactions between Willow, Drew, and the children, her stance began to shift. At a recent Quartermain family dinner, Olivia saw Drew harshly scold Wiley for accidentally spilling a glass of water, frightening the boy to tears, while Willow stood by and did nothing. Later, as Olivia comforted Wiley, he whispered that Uncle Drew is always angry, and I miss my dad. Olivia's change of heart marks a major turning point, as she's always been a strong advocate for family unity. This growing alliance not only boosts Carly's chances in the upcoming custody battle but also provides emotional and practical support as she prepares for what promises to be a grueling legal fight. Diane Miller, with her razor-sharp legal mind, has crafted a comprehensive strategy that highlights Willow's parenting shortcomings and Drew's controlling and manipulative behavior. She's enlisted a child psychologist to assess the emotional impact of the current environment on Wiley and Amelia, and has prepared a long list of witnesses ready to testify about Willow's deteriorating behavior since beginning her relationship with Drew. Diane even plans to present evidence suggesting that Drew may be using Willow and the children as pawns in a broader plan to gain control of Quartermain assets and influence. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of this entire ordeal is the psychological toll it's taking on the children, especially Wiley, who is now old enough to sense the tension around him. He has begun showing signs of anxiety, having frequent nightmares, and has even refused to go to school out of fear that his mother might not be there when he returns. In recent weeks, his teachers have reported that he has become withdrawn and less involved in class activities. During recess, instead of playing with his friends, Wiley often sits alone drawing dark-colored pictures of broken homes and sad faces. Amelia, though younger, is also sensing the tension. She has become irritable, cries more than usual, and has started showing signs of stomach pain and loss of appetite, leading Willow to take her to the doctor several times. The doctor suggested her symptoms might be stress-related, which is especially alarming for a child her age. Though deeply hurt by Carly's actions, Willow is doing her best to remain calm around the children. But the toll is showing: secret tears, sleepless nights, and significant weight loss. She often appears with puffy eyes and an exhausted expression, reminiscent of her battle with cancer. The broader family is also feeling the strain, with friends and relatives being forced to take sides, resulting in fractures that may never fully heal. Ned and Tracy Quartermain have clashed bitterly over whether to support Drew or Monica. Dante, as a police officer and Michael's close friend, finds himself in a difficult position, trying to remain professional while personally believing Wiley and Amelia should stay with Carly until Michael returns. Even Sonny, who has largely stayed out of family issues since his divorce from Carly, has voiced support for her efforts to protect the children, a move that has made Drew increasingly defensive and hostile. As the legal battle intensifies, it's the innocent children who are suffering the most, a heartbreaking tragedy none of the adults fighting for custody seem to have fully anticipated. Child psychologists warn that the constant instability and conflict could leave lasting emotional scars on both Wiley and Amelia, especially if they feel forced to choose between the people they love. As the custody trial draws near, the question is no longer just who will win legal guardianship, but whether the children will emerge from this emotional battlefield with any hope of a healthy understanding of family and love. Carly is leveraging support from Drew's own family members to take him down, a bold but highly effective strategy that's leaving Drew increasingly isolated within the Quartermaine household. She has carefully approached each family member, from Ned and Olivia to Brooke, Lynn and Chase, sharing evidence of Drew's manipulative and controlling behavior toward Willow and her grandchildren. Private conversations, strategically planned dinners, and even seemingly coincidental meetings at the Metro Court have allowed Carly to steadily build a powerful alliance against Drew. One of her most impactful moves was convincing Tracy Quartermaine, who rarely agrees with Carly on anything, that Drew's recent behavior not only endangers the well-being of Wiley and Amelia but also reattens the reputation and assets of the entire Quartermaine family. Carly didn't stop there. She sought out unlikely allies such as Alexis Davis, Elizabeth Weber, and even Sam McCall, who was once married to both Jason and Drew. With Sam, Carly expressed her concerns about the changes in Drew's personality, reminding her of alarming similarities between the current Drew and the version of him affected by memory mapping procedures. Concerned for her daughter Scout, Sam began noticing red flags, especially how Drew spoke about restructuring Willow's life and that of her children. With Elizabeth, who once shared a close bond with Drew, Carly tapped into her worries about how Drew now treats Wiley, a child Elizabeth has always felt protective of, given his connection to her late husband, Franco. As a nurse and a mother, Elizabeth began to notice clear signs of stress and anxiety in Wiley whenever he was around Drew. Jason, meanwhile, has become increasingly disturbed by how Drew is manipulating Willow and attempting to control his nieces and nephews. Although outwardly calm, those close to Jason can see the simmering rage in his cold blue eyes whenever Drew's name comes up. Jason has spent sleepless nights monitoring Drew's activities, gathering intel on secret meetings and questionable business dealings. What unsettled Jason the most is Drew's calculated effort to isolate Willow from everyone she loves, including Michael and Carly, under the pretense of doing what's best for the children. The memory of being manipulated himself has only strengthened Jason's resolve to ensure history does not repeat itself with Willow or the kids. With help from Spinelli and his brilliant tech skills, Jason uncovered a series of disturbing findings. Drew secretly transferred large sums of money to offshore accounts, rented a home in South America under an alias, and contacted a known supplier of forged passports and identification documents. All signs point to a potential escape plan, likely involving Willow and the children, to a place where Michael and the Corinthos family cannot reach them. Jason also discovered Drew had been secretly meeting with former business associates of Sonny Corinthos, suggesting that he might be trying to infiltrate Sonny's business territory, using Willow and the kids as a human shield against retaliation. This has escalated into one of the most explosive shifts yet, Jason finally confronting Drew directly, a showdown that Port Charles has long anticipated between the twin brothers. In a tense meeting at the docks, Jason warned Drew about the consequences if he continued down this path. He made it clear that he knew about the escape plan, the financial dealings, and how Drew had manipulated Willow into thinking she needed to sever ties with the Corinthos family. Jason reminded Drew that while they may share the same face and parts of the same memories, he would not hesitate to protect his family, including Wiley and Amelia, from any threat, even if it came from Drew himself. News of the confrontation quickly spread across Port Charles, shifting public perception. People began to see Drew in a different light, especially with Jason, known for his loyalty and fierce family protection, publicly siding with Carly. Those who once supported Drew, believing he simply wanted a future with Willow and her children, are now questioning his true motives. even within Aurora Media, where Drew serves as CEO. Employees have begun noticing erratic behavior, uncharacteristic bursts of anger, risky business decisions, and an increasing obsession with outmaneuvering Sunny and controlling ELQ. If Jason's plea to Monica was a desperate measure, it may just have been the shock that pushed everything over the edge. Monica, who had always viewed Drew as her long-lost returned son, was forced to confront the painful reality of his actions. In an emotional and rare move, Jason turned to Monica, presenting her with all the evidence and a heartfelt request: see the truth before it's too late. He didn't just share what he discovered about Drew's plans, but also his growing fear that something might be medically or psychologically wrong with him, possibly linked to the memory implant procedure or trauma from his captivity. As a seasoned doctor and a mother who has already lost too much, Monica listened with an open mind. She reviewed the evidence, asked thorough questions, and even began quietly observing Drew's behavior in different settings. What she saw deeply disturbed her. Drew had changed, and not for the better. Monica began to recognize signs of manipulation, control, and even paranoia in the way Drew interacted with Willow and others. From a medical standpoint, she began to suspect that there could be a neurological or psychological disorder affecting him, possibly tied to the experimental procedures or long-term trauma. After many sleepless nights and agonizing reflection, Monica made the most difficult decision of her life: to stand against Drew in order to protect Wiley and Amelia. The announcement sent shockwaves through Port Charles. Monica Quartermaine, matriarch of the powerful Quartermaine family, publicly threw her support behind Carly in the custody battle. Not only emotionally but with her full resources. She contacted hospital colleagues for a psychological evaluation of Drew, hired private investigators to monitor his actions, and even worked with her personal attorney to file for protective orders for the children if necessary. But Monica's decision wasn't just about keeping the children safe. She was genuinely worried about Drew. If he was truly suffering from a mental or neurological disorder, letting him continue unchecked could lead to catastrophic consequences, not just for those around him, but for himself as well. She hoped that confronting him now might push him to seek the help he clearly needs. With Monica's support, the balance of power has tilted dramatically in Carly's favor. Drew, now feeling betrayed by those he trusted most, is becoming increasingly reckless and dangerous. Rumors are swirling that he might attempt to secretly flee Port Charles with Willow and the children, a scenario that Carly, Jason, and now Monica are determined to stop at all costs. Drew's recent behavior has become more erratic: risky business moves at Aurora, frequent cancellations of key meetings to spend time with Willow and the kids in increasingly isolated locations, and open hostility toward anyone who brings up Michael or Carly. Willow, once convinced by Drew's arguments to protect the children from the Corinthos family, is now beginning to question everything. She has started noticing changes in Drew's demeanor, how controlling he has become, and the negative impact all this stress is having on Wiley and Amelia. Yet, she feels trapped. She's afraid that if she stands up to Drew or seeks help, she could lose custody of the kids, or worse, provoke him into a dangerous reaction. As the battle reaches its boiling point, the question is no longer just who will win custody, but whether Drew can be saved from the path of self-destruction he's on, or if he will become the latest adversary for both the Corinthos and Quartermaine families. And at the center of it all are Wiley and Amelia, two innocent children caught in the middle of a storm. Everyone claims to love and want to protect them, yet they are constantly placed at the heart of adult conflict and emotional warfare. With the custody hearing approaching, Port Charles is holding its breath, knowing that no matter who wins, someone will be left deeply scarred, and the emotional wounds of this war may never fully heal. Michael's long-anticipated return from Germany adds yet another unpredictable variable. Will he side with his mother and Monica? Or will he have a different perspective altogether? And if Drew is truly battling a mental or neurological issue, can anyone reach him before it's too late? Carly is stripping Willow of her motherhood with a rare cold-blooded determination and calculation, even for a woman known for her bold strategies. This isn't merely an emotional reaction to Willow's actions, it's a carefully orchestrated campaign designed to eliminate Willow entirely from Wiley and Amelia's lives. Carly has gathered every piece of evidence possible about Willow's relationship with Drew, her recent rash decisions, and even instances where Willow prioritized her bond with Drew over the needs of her children. In meetings with Diane, Carly emphasized Willow's past struggles with substance abuse, the instability of her relationships, and, most critically, her decision to raise her children in a home with a man who is not their biological father and who is increasingly unstable. A major new twist in Carly's strategy lies in how she's reshaping the public's perception of Willow. Through calculated conversations with key influencers in Port Charles, Carly is gradually painting a picture of Willow as a neglectful mother, a woman easily manipulated, and even someone willing to sacrifice her children's well-being for her love for Drew. Olivia, once a strong supporter of Willow, has started to look at her with suspicion after Carly shared how Willow blocked a video call between Wiley and Michael. Even Elizabeth, usually cautious in her judgments, has begun expressing concern for the children's safety after Carly showed her photos of a bruise on Wiley's arm, despite it being the result of a normal childhood fall. Carly presented it as a sign of poor supervision. Another pivotal development is Monica slowly stepping into the lead role in this legal battle. Initially just an ally to Carly, Monica is now emerging as the driving force behind the custody suit. With her respected status as a doctor, a longtime community figure, and an undeniably solid reputation as a parent, Monica is becoming the public face of this campaign. Carly, fully aware that her own image remains controversial, has smartly taken a step back and let Monica take center stage. This strategy is working. More and more residents of Port Charles are beginning to question Willow's fitness as a mother, not because Carly says so, but because Monica Quartermain, a symbol of stability and moral authority, believes it to be true. But just as things begin tipping in Carly and Monica's favor, Drew shocks everyone by pivoting his strategy. Rather than continuing to directly confront Carly and Monica, he launches a public charm offensive. He appears on local media with Willow and the children, presenting the image of a happy, harmonious family. He funds a new foundation for women and children's rights in Port Charles, appointing Willow as its honorary director. He even initiates a series of children's charity events, creating the image of a man deeply invested in the welfare of all children, not just Wiley and Amelia. Simultaneously, Drew begins a subtle smear campaign targeting both Carly and Monica. Rumors spread about financial troubles at the Metro Court, questions are raised about Monica's judgment at her age, and whispers begin suggesting that Carly and Jason might be more than just friends. With control over Aurora Media, Drew is in a position to shape how these stories are framed, and he's wielding that power ruthlessly. The biggest shock comes when Drew holds a press conference, flanked by Willow and the children, to announce that he is filing for legal adoption of Wiley and Amelia, with Willow's full consent. He goes even further, revealing that Willow is pregnant with their child, sending shockwaves not only through the Corinthos and Quartermain families but throughout all of Port Charles. The timing is deliberate. The announcement lands just days before the custody hearing, introducing a completely new and legally complex dimension to the case. How can a court justify stripping a pregnant woman of her parental rights? Carly, Jason, and Monica now find themselves in an unprecedented bind. If they press forward with the custody battle, they risk appearing as though they're unduly pressuring a pregnant woman, potentially endangering both her and her unborn child. But if they back down, they'll be surrendering Wiley and Amelia entirely to Drew's control, a man they believe is unstable and dangerous. As word of Willow's pregnancy spreads, public opinion rapidly shifts in her and Drew's favor. Carly and Monica are now being viewed as aggressors trying to tear apart a growing, happy family. Behind closed doors, however, Willow is quietly battling mounting fears and doubts. She's begun noticing troubling changes in Drew's behavior, how he now controls every aspect of her life, and how he's using her pregnancy as a tool in his war against Carly. But with a baby on the way and 2 children depending on her, Willow feels trapped and without a way out. She has cut ties with most of her old friends at Drew's request, and now finds herself more isolated and vulnerable than ever. As the custody hearing looms, Port Charles is witnessing one of the most intense family battles in its history. At the heart of it all are three innocent children, Wiley, Amelia, and Willow and Drew's unborn baby, whom everyone claims to love and want to protect, yet who are being used as pawns in a dangerous and deeply personal power game.